Hi there, it's Nicole McGuirk for Simple Stories, and today I have a couple of projects to share with you that feature ideas on using both digital and manual die cutting machines to die cut your 3x4 or even your 4x6 life documented journaling cards. The first project I'm going to share with you is a traditional 12x12 layout that showcases the 3x4 life documented cards using the digital cut files that are available in the Silhouette online store. Here is kind of the page laid out in my software. I'm going to go ahead and open a new document and show you how I put this all together. I just typed in Simple Stories in my library because I have all of my Simple Stories shapes underneath the Simple Stories heading. So that just brought up all of my shapes so that I'm able to easily find them. And I've opened one of the Polaroid shapes here, you can see, and I ungrouped it down there in the lower left corner of the screen, and then I deleted everything I didn't need, and I'm only keeping the one I do. Now I went up here to the scale tab up in the top right corner, and I wanted to make sure and scale it to a 3x4 size. And so I just made sure I locked the aspect ratio so that it would change both the width and the height. Otherwise it will just change one or the other and you can end up with something kind of funny. Now again, I'm just rotating another shape. This is going to be my title for my page, and I'm going to resize it as well. And I accidentally unclicked the lock aspect ratio, and you can see that it skews it so it doesn't look correct. You want to make sure you have that locked so that you're able to change both the height and the width at the same time. Now you might not always want to do that. There's instances where you might want to completely distort whatever it is you're cutting, but in this instance I wanted to make sure that everything changed so it's proportionate. Now I've opened another Polaroid shape. Again, in the bottom lower corner of my screen, I clicked the Ungroup button so that I could get rid of any of the frames that I didn't want. A lot of these shapes for the Simple Stories collection in the Silhouette store come with multiple designs per purchase or per shape or whatever I guess you want to call it, file, thank you. And anyway, some of these Polaroid frames come with like 3 or 4, so you don't want to use them as is. You want to probably ungroup them and just kind of move them around and get rid of the ones you don't want. Now for this one, I'm going to show you how I got a plain frame. All of the Simple Stories Polaroid frames come with some sort of word art. I'm using actually 2 of the Polaroid frames from this particular file. But this one that says Newsflash, the text is in that bottom portion of the Polaroid frame. So how I'm going to do this, because I've already ungrouped it, you're going to have to do something a little different because it's made to be used this way. Now I am using it as is, but I duplicated this image, moved my new one over to the side, and I'm going to go up into the top and click Object and then release the compound path. That allows me to get rid of anything I don't want to cut. So I'm going to end up with a plain Polaroid frame. I thought my design would be a tad too busy if I had word art on all of them, so I just chose to create a few simple plain frames. And you can see here I accidentally resized it, so I'm just going to click my back button so it goes back. And then I can duplicate this one as many times as I need to, which is, I'm going to duplicate it several because I kind of did an every other type design. So every other frame is plain. So that was a very easy way to customize a shape to fit your needs for your design. It's one of my favorite aspects of digital die cutting is you can make a shape be whatever you want it to be. Now this heart that says you and me is absolutely perfect as far as design that coordinates with the So Sweet Together title. And what I'm actually going to do is I ungrouped it and then got rid of the word art because I really didn't need it in this instance. And then I'm just resizing it to fit or to be the exact same size as the heart and the word together. This will allow me to cut the heart from a different color of paper and layer it over my title to really give emphasis to that heart in the title. That's another one of my favorite tricks to do, is to be able to really customize the shapes to fit your own needs. And I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry that my screen went a little wonky. And here you can see where I've duplicated a bunch of those plain frames, and I'm just going to move those around. And I've basically got almost everything, all of my shapes here. Now I do need one more Polaroid frame, and I couldn't seem to find it. I couldn't remember which one it was. I had to go reference my layout real quick. And I'll just need to open up that last file and again ungroup, resize, and then place that there on my cutting mat. This is one of my favorite things to do as well when I'm using digital cut files, is to kind of quote unquote lay out the design in the Silhouette software so I can really see what I'm working with. This way it tells me right away if everything that I want to use, if it's going to fit, and if I like how it looks. It's just a great starting point. It doesn't mean you can't, deviate from what you've got here, but it just is a really good starting point, and it allows you to see the scale of everything. Now I'm ready to cut out my frames, and I am cutting them from actual Simple Stories Life Documented, or the snap sets, the 3x4 cards. And what I did to make this work is I took my cards and actually placed them on my cutting mat, and in the order that I wanted them to cut, just like this, and then I'm going to cut them all at once. However, I do not want that outer frame. If I keep that outer frame, it will cut, and it will make some of my cards smaller, and it just won't work. So I am removing that outer frame only. Because these cards are already 3x4, I only need that inner piece to cut. So I am ungrouping or releasing the compound path on each of these, and for one of these I had such trouble. I don't know what I was doing. It must have been this one. I think I kept hitting the wrong order of buttons. But I'm going to release the compound path or ungroup each of these frames and get rid of that outside frame for each of them. Now once I have all of those outer frames removed, I ran it through my Silhouette, and you can see it has only cut the inside portion. This is a great way so you don't have to keep placing your paper on and run it through individually. I was able to run this through one time and get all my die cuts, with the exception of the centerpiece for my title. I originally thought I wanted my title out of this 4x6 Life Documented card, and I changed my mind after I saw it on my page and decided I wanted it out of some black paper, and I actually used a 6x6 paper pad. That's another thing I wanted to mention. My page is created with only one sheet of 12x12 paper. Everything else is from 6x6 paper pads or from snap sets, which is awesome. I love being able to do that. I love the size and the designs on the 3x4 and 4x6 cards, but I'm not much of a Life Documented scrapbooker, but I still want to be able to use these things, and so I wanted to show how I get the most out of them. Now I am layering a bunch of my 3x4 cards or the 3x3 cards behind the die cuts and things like that, and all kinds of different ones. You can see the small 2x2 ones here, the newer designs from the newer snap sets that were just released at CHA. So I just kind of have laid out everything here, and then I will go ahead and put it all together. I did print my journaling directly on my 12 by 12 sheet of paper before I adhered anything down. And here's where I'm layering those die cut frames right over other 3 by 4 cards so that I get some fun patterns going and lots of interest in things. And I'm also using stickers, a lot of things from the new DIY collection. A lot of the frames that I cut were from the DIY, and they're from more of like the ledger designs and things like that. I wanted those to have subtle pattern but not be too overwhelming, because I really wanted the other patterns in the other open frames to really shine. Using frames on my scrapbook page layouts, especially when using older photos like pre-digital photos, makes it easy, I think, to make the photos really take center stage. When you can't easily alter the photos in Photoshop or any photo editing software, I think sometimes I'm not as likely to go back and scrapbook those old photos, but I have found by framing them up, I am really getting a lot of my older photos scrapbooked, which is the goal. I still love those photos, even if I can't get rid of all the red eyes or I can't crop them down easily or change the size. I can use them this way and find that I can make a fun, interesting, and a page that really speaks to me and helps those photos shine, I guess is what I want to say. I am curling up the corners of some of my frames. Oh, sorry, I got my head in the way. Wanted to make sure I got that lined up, and I was having a lot of trouble with that one card. Anyway, I'm going to continue like this for the rest of this page. I'm just going to skip past it because it's just simply adhering all these little pieces, and then I'll show you what I did to embellish. So I'm just taking some of the stickers and things from some of the snap sets, and I placed one of them I put some foam adhesive behind the sticker and placed it on top of my die cut heart just to make it interesting, and then I'm adding a few other heart stickers and some of the new canvas ones. I place a few more heart stickers throughout my page. The Your Sweet sticker I also placed with some foam adhesive. I love foam adhesive for giving some subtle dimension without having to do a whole lot else. It just helps from making the layout look too flat. So I like doing that with a lot of my stickers and things and layering them. I'm going to layer some right over the top of the frame. All of these little pieces help make a more balanced page, and you can see it really comes together. So I kind of feel like the frames and all the die cutting are the base of the layout, and then you build upon that by adding your photos behind the frames, and then you add your embellishments. So it was fine as is, but I tend to love the embellishments, and so I chose a lot of embellishments that had hearts and things like that, and mostly stickers from snap sets, or like I said, the new canvas stickers. And then I did incorporate a few little wood veneer pieces from my scrapbook stash, and I'm using glossy accents to add detail to some of the heart stickers or heart die cuts, things like that. And then these great new enamel dots from the DIY collection from Simple Stories. I'm placing a few of the kind of cream or white colored ones, gray and red throughout my page. Any of the colors that kind of coordinate with the design. So just kind of a sprinkling of those, not too many, but just enough to kind of, help make the design pop. I also think some of these embellishments really accentuate some of the pre-printed designs on the life documented cards. So just fun little way to add some embellishment to a page created with digital die cuts. And all of the die cuts will be listed both on my personal blog and the Simple Stories blog on February 20th, so you can see exactly all the designs I used. Next, I wanted to share a project that showcases how to use the same snap set, little 3x4 or 4x6 cards with a manual die cutting machine. And I die cut all of these balloons using a framelits type die. This is a new die from Simon Says Stamp actually, but I thought the colors in the birthday snap set were perfect for creating obviously anything for birthdays, and a birthday card in particular. Because I am a card maker and I love making cards, I thought that a lot of these kind of tone on tone, like the back sides of a lot of these cards, would make awesome balloons. And so I'm die cutting a whole bunch of them, and I did do a couple at a time just to save time. And I'm cutting them all out using the smallest balloon in this particular die set. And I'm going to just get a whole bunch of balloons to create my card. So just again, another great way to get more use out of your 3x4 cards, or if you're like me and you don't do life documented, but you still absolutely love the designs of all those snap sets, you can still use them. And I think that's the best thing for me. I love that. Now I did trim down a 6x6 sheet of paper. I'm going to use the green side here, and it's just 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to completely cover the front of a card here with that. So that's my card base. And then I've trimmed down a little bit more paper, that stripe design. I'm going to mount a little bit of white cardstock. Had to get it exactly the way I wanted it. Some white cardstock on top of the stripe, because I want just the tiny bit of that stripe to show along each side. I don't want it to be overpowering. I want the balloons and the greeting to really take center stage on this project, on this card. So place that right on my card base, and then I do have a little piece of vellum which I'm going to use to cover up that whole strip there. So it kind of tones down that stripe even more. It gives the illusion of the stripe. You can still see it, but it isn't quite as vibrant. I love using vellum to kind of help mute and tone down a bright paper. Now I did put my adhesive kind of strategically. I knew where I was going to put my balloons and my greeting. The greeting is from another 3x4 snap card from the birthday snap set. And I did die cut all of the balloons again out of black cardstock. I wanted them to really pop, and one of my favorite things to do is to create that shadow where I just slightly offset the pattern on top of the darker cardstock, and it gives a great subtle shadow effect which instantly gives dimension. So I'm just going to do that for each of the balloons, and then I'm going to pop them up with some foam adhesive. Now I just had this really thin hemp teak, I think it is, thread, and it kind of coordinated with each of my balloons, or good enough. So I'm using some foam adhesive to adhere them to the back of each of the balloons so that it kind of coordinates with each color. And it serves two purposes. It adheres it to my card, plus it holds that string or twine in place. So I'm just going to attach each of these. So I'm flipping it over. I've got my twine and a little piece of foam tape. I'm just going to get that held in place. I'll pop that foam adhesive over there to hold it in place and snip a little length of the twine, and then I will adhere that onto my card. And I'm just kind of layering them. I want it to look like a big bunch of fun, bright, colorful balloons. And I will finish the rest of the balloons just like this. Make sure I get them all layered just the way I want it. Add the twine to each of them and the foam adhesive and adhere them there to the top of my card. Now you see that that green balloon is hanging off. I am going to just cut the top of that balloon off. I think it kind of helps ground the whole design when you have one of the elements kind of hanging off the edge. And so that was what I was doing here. Because there's so much going on, that's such a big group of balloons, I thought that that would kind of help ground the design. So there are all my balloons. I'm just going to pull all of those strings kind of down a little bit Need to trim that one end, or a couple of those ends, so that they're all relatively the same length. And then I'm just going to knot them and then trim them again, because I just kind of want a little knot of them to be hanging down below my greeting to finish off that design. And there is I've cut that little strip from a 3x4 snap card, add some foam adhesive to the back of that, and then I will pop it right over the top of those strings. Again, foam adhesive serves the purpose of adhering the greeting and holding those strings in place. No other adhesive is needed. And there I trimmed off that top of that green balloon. Now I felt like I needed just a few little dimensional embellishments. This cute little heart die cut is from the birthday snap set, the die cuts that coordinate with the all of the 3x4 and 4x6 cards and things like that. Then I'm going to use some of the Simple Stories DIY enamel dots. Use this yellow. I like to adhere them kind of into the glossy accents. I placed glossy accents over that die cut heart. It gives that whole thing the illusion of being a sticker and gives it a subtle dimension. Adding some glossy accents to the polka dots on both the aqua and the yellow polka dot balloon. Just a quick and easy way to give each of these balloons some dimension. Very subtle dimension, but very fun. And then for all my striped balloons, I'm going to take one of my very favorite tools, which is the Wink of Stella Clear Glitter Marker. And I'm just going to go over the darker stripe in each of these and add a thin line of glitter. So it gives all of these balloons just a tiny bit of glitter, glitz and glam. And these easy little tips or tricks or whatever, or technique, really dress up your die cuts. So you could leave it as is if you maybe are a little bit more of a simple scrapbooker or card maker. Or if you like to dress up your die cuts a little bit like this is just a really fun and easy way, both the glossy accents and the glitter marker here. So I'll just finish my green balloon, and that is it. That card is finished. I hope you have enjoyed these examples on how to use both digital and manual die cutting machines with your snap set cards from Simple Stories. One thing I want to mention before I let you go is all of the products I used today are linked below in the YouTube video, in the description box over on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time.